Hi, my name's Jane and I have lactose intolerance. Now, for those not in the know, this means that if I eat anything with cow's milk in, there's a very short window of time before being near a toilet is no longer an option, if you catch my drift. And as someone that loves travelling and camping, I've had to build up some survival systems so as to avoid unnecessary fallout. So although I've tent camped since I was a kid, I always stayed on campsites or at festivals. So finding a loo, however gross you may have been, Glastonbury 1990, I had things covered. But travelling in a van was a whole new different experience, and today I'm going to walk you through how I've learned to deal with things along the way. So first up, let's talk about all the options that I have tried to date. Before buying Myrtle, my old camper van that I've just sold, I bought a vintage caravan and it came with a chemical toilet. Now for the record, I hated that thing. The blue bottle of chemical stuff that came with it actually had formaldehyde as a listed ingredient. So even if you dispose of the cassette properly, you're still responsible for some highly toxic chemical crap being used to unnecessarily break down your waste. And even if you buy the eco-friendly version, it's still a bottle of chemical. And if you've ever had the misfortune to use one of those toilets, A, they stink, and B, emptying them is the most disgusting job in the entire world, and I wouldn't wish it on anyone. Oh, and C, you can't just pour it down a flushing toilet to empty it. You have to dispose of them properly in a black water or chemical disposal point, usually found at campsites, which D, you often have to pay the luxury to do so too. Just yuck all round. So once I bought my first camper van, Myrtle, the Volkswagen T4, we took our first big road trip in 2017 when Johnny and I travelled the newly opened NC500 in Scotland. We were away for a month, we clocked up 3,000 miles in total, and we had no toilet on board, other than a pea pot and a shovel. Now, as for pea pots, I recommend getting a good quality clip-top tub that's used for like cereals and dried food storage. They are ergonomically designed for either gender to comfortably use, if you catch my drift. And if you buy a good quality one, once that lid is clipped on, it's not going to spill. You can empty these down a flushing toilet or in a hedge or a bush, just don't empty them where other people are likely to camp, sit or picnic. Now, for number twos, we mostly found public toilets along the way, but there were a few woodland poops where the little shovel came in handy. And when it comes to pooping outdoors, there is an etiquette, which is to dig a cat hole that's at least 6 inches deep, well away from a water source. You squat, do your business in the hole, and then cover it with dirt, taking any used toilet paper away with you. Even though toilet paper is flimsy and in theory would rot down quickly, not all soil or climate conditions will actually allow it to break down. Also, if an animal digs up your poop, which hopefully it won't because you dug it deep enough, it also means there's going to be a trail of used toilet paper with your DNA on, and just no. It's also worth finding out if the area you're camping in allows you to bury your poop. On Dartmoor National Park it is allowed, or at least it was the last time I checked, but some councils or even countries may not allow it. Next up, we have the camping bucket loo. So when the world started to reopen after COVID lockdowns, some campsites here in Cornwall tentatively started opening back up, but only to camper vans or motorhomes that had bathroom facilities on board, as they kept their toilet blocks closed. This is when I bought a generic camping toilet bucket. I mean, this thing is actually pretty good. It was cheap as chips. It's easy, it's lightweight to lug around, and for me at least it was comfortable. Johnny is obviously designed a little bit differently to me, and he didn't find the seat and tackle combo all that comfortable, but he still managed to make it work. We did take this on our recent road trip back up to Scotland, and it did us pretty well. However, if you didn't empty it most days, it would stink. So the issue with stinky toilets is the mixing of pee and poo. Surprisingly, once covered in a dry substance such as sawdust, poo doesn't actually smell. Pee, on the other hand, quickly builds up an ammonia stench, which is just vile. If you mix the pee and the poo together, your camping toilet will smell beyond gross unless you fill it to the brim with sawdust. So, to prevent stink in a camping bucket, ideally pee into a different container first, the pea pot being my go-to, then sit on your plastic throne and let your number two free. Once finished, I drop used toilet paper into the bucket. I cover the poop with another handful or two of sawdust, making sure it's entirely covered. If I have used toilet paper that's only got a bit of pee on it, I tend to put that in the regular bin, and it just stops the bucket from filling up even quicker. If you do end up using one of these, line the bucket with a black bin liner Add in a handful of substrate to the bottom of the bag. I use the same sawdust I use for bedding in my chicken coop. I buy great big bales of it for the farm, but you can buy small little blocks from supermarkets or pet shops. When it's time to empty your toilet, simply pick up the bag, tie a knot in it and place it in a general waste bin. I was kind of surprised that that's legally acceptable when I first started looking into this, but here in the UK at least, it is allowed. I guess it's no different really than nappies or dog poo bags being thrown away. But bearing in mind that a human has to empty that bin at the other end, I would recommend that you don't overfill your black bin liner, and please make sure the contents are dry, i.e. you've added lots of sawdust, as if the bag gets pierced and the refuse person is going to have to deal with your gross leaking waste, just bleh, not nice. So the downside here, of course, is that you're using a plastic bag to throw away something that's completely biodegradable and actually beneficial to soil and planet alike. So if you do happen to live somewhere with plenty of outdoor space and you're interested in composting, you may want to consider building a separate compost pile to your regular kitchen waste one. And then you can tip the whole lot, the pee, the poo, the used paper and the sawdust into the special compost pile. If you're interested in this, then please read the book Humanure, where you'll learn how to make this system work safely for you and in your specific living and land situation. And actually, I recommend reading Humanure to anyone that poops, as it's an enlightening read. And if you need to rely on using plastic bags when you're on the road like we do, then in my opinion, the best bags to use are those that are made from recycled plastic, i.e. plastic that otherwise would have been destined for landfill anyway. I have heard that compostable bags can start to deteriorate while still in your toilet, which does not bear thinking about. And eco bags that are made with brand new virgin components can actually have an even higher footprint than using recycled plastic bags. And the same goes for dog poo bags, in case you were wondering. Now, thankfully, we have moved on and upgraded from all of those previous toilet situations to using a composting or dry toilet. So this one is by Trelino, and whilst they did send us this unit to review here on the channel, they're not paying me to do so or telling me what to say. So in a composting toilet, the pee and the poo are separated, each being directed into a separate container. Firstly, when you pee, it's collected in this pan and directed through this little hole into the pee container underneath. I like to add a splash of white vinegar to the pee container each time I empty it and clean it, and I found that this stops the urine from smelling. Remember, it's the urine that stinks. Poop is safely dropped into this bucket in the back. When you then cover it with a handful of sawdust, there is literally no smell. Seriously, none. Another nice feature about going for a dry toilet is that it doesn't require filling with water to act as a flush, which, as we recently found out on our French road trip, water is the #1 resource that needs protecting like no other when you're on the road. I've been asked how it works if you have diarrhea, and as diarrhea is just poop that's got more water in it, it's fine if you just add more of your dry substance, sawdust, and just keep adding sawdust until it doesn't smell. Now, Trelino have a few different sizes and designs of composting toilets available with different price points. And whilst they're not cheap, you can rest assured that being designed and built in Germany, you don't need to worry about any quality issues. These things are sturdy. This is the Trelino Origin, and it's pretty heavy duty. We have to rough handle it in and out of this cupboard since Johnny moved a bigger water tank in, and it copes with it really well. The lid is untreated birchwood, and it's recommended to either paint, varnish or oil the wood to keep it in good nick, which I still need to do. And as far as I'm concerned, this toilet is almost perfect. It looks cool, and because it doesn't look like a toilet, you could legitimately use it as an extra seat in your van if you needed to. It's comfortable to use, boys and girls. It doesn't smell at all, and it uses less sawdust than the bucket loo because you're removing the pee part, so there's less to dry out. This will save you money, but it also lessens the amount of plastic bags you get through as you're not filling up the bucket so quickly. My only regret with this particular Trelino is that the poop bucket isn't bigger. The bigger the bucket, the longer you can go between emptying it. So if you have the space in your van and you have the budget available, I would recommend going with the tallest one you can find. So to set up your new compost loo, buy a bottle of white vinegar and squeeze a good amount into the pee container. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 tablespoons or so. The pee container comes with 2 lids. The one with the hole is for when the toilet is in use. The one with no hole is to screw on when you need to take your pee container to a campsite toilet to empty. So pop the pee pot into the front of the toilet so that the little pee hole is situated directly over the top of it. Next, line the poo bucket with a black bin liner. I actually really like these ones that came with the Trelino as they're not as big as regular black bin liners. You can add a handful of sawdust at this point, although I tested it in France and it didn't seem to make any difference in terms of smell, so I don't bother now. Instead, I just leave it empty, and then the first time we poop in the clean bag, I just cover that with sawdust. This saves you a little more room in the bag and a little bit more sawdust. Pop the seat on, then the lid, and your toilet is now set up and ready to use. When nature calls, close the curtains, remove the lid, sit on your throne and do your business. Again, pee paper goes in the kitchen bin and everything else goes into the poop bucket. When finished, I get a piece of kitchen roll and wipe out the pee pan, then spray it with a 50-50 mixture of water and white vinegar. This just keeps it nice and non-smelly. Then get a handful of your dry matter and cover your poop. You don't need to use loads, just cover it until you can no longer see anything really. Replace the lid and you are good to go. Oh, and I have been asked more than once, you nosy lot, how we deal with using the toilet in a shared space. Well, honestly, when one of us needs to go, the other one usually takes the dog out for a walk. But we've been together for 18 years, so it's really not that big a deal if we have to go when the other one is home. In this instance, I used to light a scented candle beforehand, but the dog reacted badly to the candle, so that's been binned, and now we just light an incense stick, kind of waft it around the van a bit. Then we pop the loo behind the kitchen sink, do our business, and clear up as normal. Ultimately, we've all got the same bathroom needs, so it's worth trying to get over any weirdness either of you have about it. If you have any loo-related questions, then feel free to drop them down below, and I'll also drop a link down there to the Trelino website too. And apparently, if you use that link, they will treat you to a surprise accessories package worth £30. Good job, Trelino. Oh, before we go, one other thing I wanted to say was please don't use peat-based substrate for your composting toilet. Peat takes thousands of years to form, and removing it to use in both compost toilets and in bags of compost at the garden centre is decimating natural peat bogs. Sawdust or coconut fibre are much better choices. And secondly, go get a copy of that book, Humanure. It's brilliant. See you soon. Bye.